Okay, before I forget, I'd like to make an announcement that I will be doing a video on the place in New Jersey off of the side of the highway. Oh, I almost dropped you. Off of the side of the highway of Route 80. So if you're going towards New York City, it's around mile marker 23.6 to 23.7. And if you're going towards the city, so if you're going east, it's on the right-hand side, it's on your side. It's right there, and it looks like a Mayan pyramid, covered with grass and some landscape, mowed every once in a while and driven right by the fuck every day by millions of people that don't even look at it. Totally a pyramid. I looked it up in New Jersey, and if you look on the map, not that far away is a little old place called Pyramid Mountain, New Jersey. Any of you heard of that? Anybody out there heard of Pyramid Mountain, New Jersey? Anyone know why it happens to be so close to where I happen to suspect there's a pyramid right in front of everybody's face, right along the side of the highway in New Jersey? And if you look at how the highway was built through, and it is the new highway, by the way, it hasn't been there that long, like 30 some years, 40 years. You know, there used to be a different route. And when they built that on that big pass or through by area, there's just nothing. There's no exit for a little while. There's a lot of rock walls. We'll get into another one about that. The rock walls and the giants. Fun episodes coming up. Dolmans. Megaliths. These are some of my favorite subjects. I haven't even mentioned those yet. They go along the lines of energy, though. Totally do. But I get a little sensitive about the subjects when I see things like in front of people's houses. Like they live with one of those walls right in front of their yard. And they don't even question it. Nor why there's like 5, 6, 7, 20 miles. Technically, the rock walls underneath the canopy of the east coast of the United States, there are enough of those that circle the globe 7 times. That's a lot of rock walls hidden underneath the canopy of the trees that no one sees and in the backyards, and everybody just accepts as being there from the settlers that moved there from New York and like New England, right? The settlers did it to do their fields and to separate their plows. Even though there's some areas where the incline's like this because it's in between a valley. Through the woods, 10 miles behind people's homes where there still aren't people living, by the way. Still aren't people living there. Still aren't enough in the population today to live in all those spots in the woods where there are still rock walls. But we are made to believe that it was the settlers with their horses and their buggies and their plows separating all those crops that are completely under the entire forest of the East Coast. It's so many crops. Oh, maybe it wasn't the settlers. Maybe it was the Indians. Maybe it was them. Because you know how they segregated their land and sectioned it off and like probably got money for it, right? They didn't live off the land and move with it and respect it and love Mother Nature and were in touch with it. No. It must have been the Indians that separated it for their crops. I mean, dude, they lived in teepees or like the tube houses or whatever they're called. Like, they moved around. They didn't spend all their time. Those rock walls are big. I can tell you some areas around where I grew up where that is 8 feet wide and now still 6 feet high after hundreds, not 100 years of weathering. They're always in the same shapes. There's always a big curve and an S somewhere, and then right after that somewhere, there is a cross point where there's either a government building, a post office, a school, a church, an old graveyard. Something along those lines. Every time. Different states, doesn't matter. There's tons of dolmens hidden in New England. You know what a dolmen is? It's that big, huge megalithic rock that's kind of flat, like a big tabletop, and then has like maybe 3 tiny little rocks weird in a tripod underneath, and it's just flat and sitting. And that was totally done by glaciers that perfectly placed those little rocks for that big megalithic one to be positioned on just so perfectly. It was totally the glacier that did that. It has nothing to do with, you know, having them also be in Ireland. Go look that up. In Ireland, those are sacred and they're like treasured by their country as being some of the oldest structures, like going back to Stonehenge things. In the United States, they have graffiti, and they're in yards of fancy people that used to work in governmental agencies in the 50s in New York and now have cozy little homes above weird mountains that they just live at and ignore. And then other people buy them and they have those walls in their front yard and they just... Now, you know, my grandpa told me his granddad was here forever and they just totally plowed the fields. And people just don't question farther than that. Ever. How? How do you not question farther than that? I built rock walls. I'll show you a couple I've made. Rock paths, you know, like pathways and stuff. It's kind of like setting stones on jewelry on a big ass scale. It's not easy. Some of those rocks are really big, you know, like John Deere tractors. You know, my dad does equipment and stuff like that. Can't move them now. Can't move them now. But they did it in the 1800s with a couple horses. Right. Good job. We need to start questioning things more. Back to the pyramid. So it's interesting how this pyramid is the same shape as like a Mayan pyramid. So it's like a step pyramid. So it goes up and then flat, the plateau, and then up and plateau. Now, when you go along the highway and you look, it's also covered sort of like all the pyramids that are hidden in China. China has so many pyramids, but they don't want you to see them. So what they did is they covered them with landscape and grass and stuff. So if you happen to fly above where you shouldn't be, it'll just kind of look like the mountain. You maybe won't notice. They'll keep that for themselves. Bosnia, now, at least is being public. So if you don't know that one of the biggest pyramids ever found is in Bosnia, go YouTube it. They're also doing mega, like volunteer work where people are involved and they're shown, but I mean, that takes a lot of money. This pyramid, this is going to show you it. This pyramid in Bosnia was discovered, I am really bad on dates, not that long ago. I want to say they've been excavating it like 10 years, maybe. So in our day and age, there have been people living over there, at least that we can go back to and like think about without being ridiculous. A couple hundred years, let's say a couple hundred years, these people over there like have family they can think of, have been living over by this mountain in Bosnia and just thought it was a fucking mountain. Everyone just thought it was a mountain. I gotta go up the mountain and get my bucket of water. I go to the mountain. All right. And it was like 10 years ago, some dude sat back and looked at that and he was like, I don't know. That's a really angular mountain. Why is it so angular? And looked into it. And you know what? It's a fucking pyramid. Been there a really long time and covered by a lot of landscape. It's a pyramid. And they've excavated some of it from like, let's say a couple miles out. They have to go in. This is a process. It's not easy to you can't just blast your way into the pyramid. But at least they're bringing the public in to see what's going on. I mean, at least the public got smart enough to look at important things that are not the Kardashians fucking like tutus that they're wearing that day in Joke Land. But, things of substance. They're doing like acoustics testing in that thing to see how they're finding that people walking in there are having these healing experiences because of the vibrations and the way it's set up and how that must be important. So back to New Jersey, it would figure that if the United States was hiding a pyramid, it would be in New Jersey. Wouldn't it? Now, all you in New Jersey, you go check out your pyramid. You could be famous soon. I'm about ready to have to take a pee on the side of the highway pretty soon. I'm sorry, officer. I was just peeing on the pyramid. I had to go just peeing on the pyramid. You didn't notice there was a pyramid here? There's totally a pyramid here. All right, so when you drive by it, you can see the highway has this long like overpass where they kept it even. And you only get to see the top part of it. So you see like maybe the top 2 tiers. So this tier, and I have a video. It's in Facebook land. I was told it looked like the Predator shot it because I did it on my iPhone and then I put the filter on so you could see it go better. It's like pink and yellow and it looks pretty cool. It was a pretty good shot, by the way. It's hard, you can't just get perfect every time. I need like a personal assistant or something. I sometimes do have that in my sister, but she's lost in boyfriend land as of late, so I lost some of my personal assistant, but that's cool. All right, so like when you see the top of the pyramid, you see this, and then when you look off the highway quick, you can see it drops. So the highway's still up here, but all of a sudden the land goes down to the bottom of the pyramid, maybe. I've tried to check it out on Google Earth. They don't make it really easy to get back there. But unless you pee on the side of the highway, that's probably the easiest way. But people just don't care. It's really, really frustrating. It's really frustrating to see so much in front of our faces that we don't pay attention to because we're on our phones. Playing weird games that you ask other people to do that have no substance with your time. What are you doing with your life? What a waste. There's so much mystery and amazement in your backyard. Any of you got those rock walls? Why don't you go back and see how far it goes? Why don't you see how many stones are in it? How wide it might be? Maybe you have a pyramid under your house and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. Why don't you start to look at some things? And I'll put some of my weird little evidence that I've come up with up eventually. But I just wanted to take note. So maybe if that's anywhere that people are, they could see it. Sometimes when I drive by, I like to roll down my window and I just kind of go like this. And then I go, did you see it? No? I go, your subconscious heard that. You'll see it the next time. So maybe we can get out of the subconscious and maybe we can get it a little bit into the conscious. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it just happens to be a perfectly shaped Mayan pyramid mountain by Pyramid Mountain, New Jersey, and Rockaway, and Mount Hope. Interesting names these places have. Pay attention to the rocks. Also, anybody down by Philly, there's a place called Ringing Rock, like park. And if you take like hammers and you hit these rocks, they literally sing. They don't know why. Any of you know why? There's a lot of weird stuff that's kind of in national park thing, but they don't promote it much because if too many people get interested, they start asking questions and they don't just accept the pamphlet offered. Never accept the pamphlet. Always ask more questions.